Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. A little bit of riffing to get started. Nick, what's up? Haziel, what's up? Gianluca, Kai, Mario. Yo. Yes, spring, getting warmer out means we're closer to the return of Hoochie Daddy Shorts live chat. Yeah, not too far away from it. I was in shorts not too long ago. It's a wild time to be alive in Pennsylvania as things start to warm up for the springtime. Gianluca, Jake, I'm writing you an email right now, but I will be able to come to the shop on the 21st. Hell yeah. So stoked about that. Gianluca has a killer build in the queue that is wrapping up. He's going to come scoop it up. It's super sick. So yeah, stoked for that. Dylan says, Lost Lonely Boy. Indeed. Boy, speaking of, killer band. Lost Lonely Boys rules. I saw them when I was like, I want to say 12, maybe 14. They played a fair in my Louisiana hometown. And it was one of the sickest live shows I've ever seen. Just pure energy, musicianship. So sick. Talking about, you know, the guitarist, Henry, or I can't remember if it's the guitarist or the bass player that's Henry. He would cover the eyes of the other guy and they would play blindfolded and goof off. And yeah, super sick sound. And some really, really cool... You might have even heard me. It's going to sound funny because it's on a baritone, but that, how's that riff go? It's, I've got way too much gain on, but it's that, oh man, what's it called? Not Crazy, Onda. It was the instrumental track, largely instrumental track, off of their debut record that had that super sick. Something like that. And they broke into this super sick, like. Something like that. Really cool. Anyway, good shout. Dylan says, just got my Seraph 8. That thing is an absolute monster. You guys killed it. Thank you, dude. Dylan, killer supporter, longtime friend of we at Balaguer Guitars, has a couple of sick builds in the works right now. Glad you got it, though. Anyone who saw us post about that Monster Burst guitar, that's the one he's talking about, that Seraph. And yeah, super rad. So yeah. As you can all tell, I am flying solo today. Mr. Balaguer is incredibly busy right now and also taking care of some family stuff. So I'm here riding solo, and we're going to go through all sorts of cool stuff today. We're going to talk about the spring cleaning sale that just went live. We're going to talk about the guitar show, our trip to the UK and how that was. We're going to talk about a trip we're going to take later this year. And yeah, we'll kind of catch everyone up on what's been going on. So, like I said at the onset, happy Friday. It's been a minute since we've done one of these because we were out of town 2 Fridays ago. And that was for the guitar show in the UK. Also, for those of you who celebrate, including myself, happy belated Mardi Gras. Those of you who have hung around for a bit know that I'm from the state of Louisiana. And I hope all of you had a wonderful Mardi Gras, whether you celebrated or not. It is always a good time. And if you do celebrate, you're an honorary Louisianian. So shout out to that. Kai says, bloody Ellis. Can't even do it, dude. It actually became a hilarious joke because every time Joe or I would make a reference, I just like somehow only could do like Australian or New Zealand. It's like I'm trying too hard and it gets that different tone to it. I don't know. I got made fun of for it when we were over there. But yeah, it was rad. Milkman's Kid, nice name. Effects pedals. So running through the quad cortex, like we usually do for the live streams. So I'm playing my personal Espada, my Select Custom Espada, baritone, 27-inch, with some bare knuckle pickups in it. It sounds like this. A lot of fun. I like the bare knuckles a lot. They're really cool. I typically actually really drive really well with our pickups, but the bare knuckles in this one sound super sick. Don't sweat being a noob, dude. And or dudette. We all have to learn, you know? We're glad you're hanging out. Balaguer, you will, if you keep hanging out, you'll learn it's a killer community. Everyone's super positive. It's a rad place to hang. We keep it that way intentionally because we appreciate a place that is not like maybe many other forums on the interwebs. So whether you're here at the live stream, in the Balaguer Guitars discussion group on Facebook, or in any of the other places that we hang, Instagram, like I said here for the live stream, anything like that, we try and keep it pretty positive and pretty chill. So thanks for joining and hanging out. Yo, what's up? More country in 2025. For those of you who don't know, I do enjoy a bit of a chicken a pickin', but good shout. And I would like to know if anyone likes the sound and effects of it. And of course, they say hello. Yeah, to say hello. No, yeah, it's the QC pretty much covers the ground that we work through for the live stream and most of this kind of stuff. Our pickup demos on YouTube, a lot of that quick content stuff, any demo work that we do for runs, almost always quad cortex. We are big on analog effects, as you can see all around me. Some of my favorites are actually up there right now. That's the brown protein, which, funnily enough, that is what this sound is. I've captured it a couple different times in the quad cortex, and I love the way it sounds. And then the collision devices, black hole symmetry, which is like this awesome fuzz reverb delay that just absolutely, I don't know, whatever. It is the event horizon of tone, as far as I'm concerned. Haziel, can't wait for my Mitch 6 though. Yeah, shout out, dude, and thanks for pre-ordering. For those who don't know, we released a signature guitar for Mitch Stark of the band Silent Planet while we were at NAMM this year. And yeah, Mitch is a rad guy who is doing some rad things. And his Espada signature that we released is a super cool, unique spec, 28.5-inch scale length, a custom set of P90s in humbucker-sized enclosures that are based on our backwoods P90s, Bacote veneer, set neck. It's just a very uniquely spec'd guitar that sits really well in the sort of modern baritone ethos of the world. So yeah, shout out. Thanks again, Haziel. And yeah, they're super sick. Can't wait for them to start making their way out into the world. Yeah, Kai got one too, or will have one too. They've been super popular. We've sold many, I want to say almost a couple dozen of them at this point, and that's just pre-sales right off the rip. So if you are interested, grab one now because they're not going to be around forever based on the rate that they're moving, which is super sick. We're stoked for them to be out there and doing the thing, and we're stoked that, you know, Mitch's specs are a success. He has 2 select customs at this point, I think, and a production guitar, and this is basically all of the specs that he loves the most combined into one guitar. Super sick, unique without being off the wall, distinctly him without being something that you couldn't pick up and play yourself. Like you don't feel like you're playing a super signature guitar looking like somebody else. So it kind of covers a lot of ground. It's really cool. Milkman's Kid, 25 watt amp for bass guitar, and I'm using it for my 6-string regular electric too. Nice. Yeah, it's actually a top secret trick, by the way. A lot of great clean guitar tones have been recorded through bass amps because they have that low end response and there's a real big clarity to them. That's a fun way to play the guitar. Um, I tend to like the British ear stuff, so for instance, this is a clean with an AC-15. Does have a little bit of compression, a little bit of reverb on it. That's sort of my go-to. I should probably turn off the vocal mics when I do that. Let's try that one more time. Yeah, good fun. Any idea when they'll be complete? Haziel says, yes, I do have an idea in a couple months. uh, Definitely setting mine up in double drop C sharp. Hell yeah, get dirty with it. Good luck. The Evertune only accepts an 80. That is true. You can really, we've done some testing in the shop with the Evertune, which by the way, Evertune bridge on Mitch's guitar. I didn't say that, key spec. Still getting back in the swing of the live stream, got to pick that stuff up quick. It's been almost a month. It's been about a month. The Evertune, you can typically sneak it up to an 84-ish. They say 80. And if you go any higher than that, you have to actually modify the module. Mitch's guitar is primo for something like that because it's a 28.5-inch scale. So without going all the way to a 30 or something like that, it'll get you in the ballpark of being able to do some of those things without necessarily sacrificing everything or having to use weird gauges and weird tensions and weird everything, and then the sound starts to get strange. Not strange in a bad way, just strange in a way that most people don't gravitate toward. Good shout though, Kai. Milkman, I love that I am hearing great reviews of using bass amp with both my bass and other. Yeah, for sure. It's a cool trick. I say trick. It's not a trick. It's a cool technique. It's fun to do. Kai says may need a custom tension saddle. That may be true. You can drill them out for a 90, but that's not something I'd want to mess with. Yeah, I agree. We do it very, very rarely. We often don't like to do it just because you're modifying the OEM part from Evertune, and drilling out a machine head is one thing, a tuning peg to fit a larger string, but actually modifying a module, if you get it wrong, you then have to replace the module, which is a pain in the butt. Not that it's crazy difficult, it just takes a while. Good shout though. So other things that have been going on, like I said, we were in the UK last week, a week and a half ago. So the guitar show hosted in Birmingham in the UK is the guitar and bass show are in the same building, and they are more specifically in Solihull, is sort of the UK's biggest guitar show. We were kind enough, I don't want to say that with absolute certainty because I don't know every show that goes on there, but I believe it's the largest. And we were there with our UK distributor. So for those of you who don't know, we are expanding into the United Kingdom. That'll be England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. We will be rolling those guitars out probably come summertime. The goal is by the holidays this year. So keep a lookout. And it's set in stone at this point. So it won't be very long before they start making their way out, which we're super stoked for. It was our first show in the UK. It was my first time in England, which was super cool, in the UK at all. And we had a killer time. Joe and I went together. We had a day or so in London on the front end. We spent a couple days for the show in Birmingham, came back, had a day or so in London, and then flew back home. And it was a great time. Highly recommended, by the way. It was just an incredible experience. So much history, so much culture, so much fun, great hang, great chat. The guys that we work with at, with our distributor are just the coolest guys in the world. Took us to dinner. We took them to dinner. We all hung out. The show was a blast. You know, we've been doing NAMM for almost 10 years now. And there's, you know, I enjoy the NAMM show. A lot of people kind of get tired of it over time because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of money. It's difficult to do logistically. But being able to do that regularly is something that I look forward to. And this allowed us to have a chance to chat with people that either typically wouldn't make it to NAMM or wouldn't even make it to Guitar Summit in Germany because it's just, you know, they're on an island, literally. So it was really cool to get to meet a lot of players who had folders on their phones full of mock-ups from the website and that sort of experience, or didn't know much but had heard of the brand and wanted to put their hands on the guitars, or just wanted to introduce themselves and chat with Joe or I. And it was a blast. That sort of thing is my favorite part of the job. Certainly top 3 favorite parts of the job is being in a place where people who haven't had sort of every opportunity to put their hands on the guitars get to play them, see them, talk about them, ask questions. We get to hang and chat. We see a lot of different styles of music, people that we don't necessarily get to hang out with regularly. So yeah, I mean, it's so cool, and we're so grateful to be able to do it because that sort of thing would never be possible without the support of not only all of you, but everyone who supports Balaguer. And it's, you know, we can sound like a broken record sometimes or like we're pandering, but I couldn't make it any clearer that we're not. It really does just mean the world to us. And it's so fun to be able to do that kind of stuff and meet everybody. So it was killer. We had a blast. Looking forward to going back, I hope. Certainly going back as a on a personal trip if I ever can again, because it was so fun. We got to tour the Marshall factory. We got to hang out in Milton Keynes for a bit, meet some cool friends / artists that I can't mention. Hang out at the show for the weekend, come back, see London for a bit. Everything from, as Kai would point out, the Chippy. So got to do Chippy, got to have Realty, which, by the way, they're absolutely right. It's just better there. I think I had a funny conversation with Sid, one of our new friends, I made the point that, you know, if you go to New York, everyone's like, oh, the water's why the pizza's so good. The water's why the bagel's so good. You know, you go to Philly, it's less about the water, but it's like, oh yeah, like a cheesesteak outside of Philly is not a cheesesteak. And I can vouch for that. I spent my whole life eating cheesesteaks, came to Philly for the first time, had a real one, and was like, oh wow, this is not the same thing. And it is so much better. And we had a funny conversation about how, depending on where you have tea in England, you know, in some places they're like, oh, if you want a proper cup of tea, you got to get it from a certain place because of the water that they use or because of the tea that they source or whatever. So it was really funny. Sort of one of those parallels. But yeah, the cultural exchange of it all was hilarious and fun. And yeah, can't wait to do it again. It really was one of those experiences that we just don't get to have all that often, and was a blast. The Marshall factory was amazing. Shout out to Adam and Ollie for giving us the tour and letting us see Marshall Studios, which, you know, they're running a label and a full recording studio there with this giant live room. And we got to plug in all the amps that we wanted to plug in and make a stupid amount of noise. It was so cool. And the studio that they've built is, I mean, beyond top tier, and not in like a sterile modern way. It's like Neve stuff and old boards, and just, it was a nice place to be, like a cool place to hang. And yeah, can't wait to go back. Super rad. It was also cool to see just how hands-on Marshall was with everything. I think in a way we draw a parallel to that, where people think we're a gigantic company when we're not. You know, it's 6 of us plus the building teams that we work with in Korea. So it's like, it's not a big company. And I think people have this perception of companies like us, or like Marshall, especially, who've been around forever. You know, you think they're this massive, like, had their own moon sized company with 10 bajillion square feet factory and square foot of factory and all of this stuff. And it's just like, it's not. It's super hands-on, and they're just building the amps right there. And we got to see them do some hand wiring work. We got to see a bunch of stuff. And it got to the point where at the end of the tour, we were watching one of their hand-wired amp Tolex guys literally had a deer antler and was using it to put in the contours in the Tolex on a 59 hand-wired, a Plexi. And I had to ask. I just straight up said, guys, is this bullshit? Like, are y'all just doing this because we're here to make it look extra cool? And they were like, no, dude, we don't really care about you. We're just doing our jobs. This is what we love to do. And I was like, that's what I wanted to hear. It was so rad. Just so cool to see what they do and get to hear it all loud and be there in the place and do the thing. Just, wow, what an experience. On top of everything else, getting to see Denmark Street in London, 6-string sound was amazing. Getting to see Regent Studios, man, just so much stuff. Gotta go. Make it a priority. I'm getting behind because I'm getting so distracted and caught up in talking about it. Let's see. Sorry, I'm at the Fender amp I just bought. Nice. Haziel says, can't wait for the Mitch 6. Hell yeah. Catching up. Yo, Kenny came in for the jams and stayed for the Jake. Yo, always my number one. My ride or die. I appreciate it. My man Ken always has my back, which, by the way, probably coming to Philly soon. I'm going to hit you up. Ooh, I don't get to play this guitar enough. In the live stream. This is my, ambient / slidey boy / just real riffy guitar. I love this thing. So it's good to be able to play it. Hope you guys like it, by the way. We actually brought this with us to the guitar show, and it got a lot of attention, which was really rad. We also brought a Heritage, the Heritage Growler that we had at NAMM, the red one with the Evertune. We brought a USA Seraph. We brought 2 of the Growler T-bars, and then our distributor had a bunch of stuff there, sample stuff that we're using to get kicked off over there, which was a blast. But yeah, this one made it back. So this one's had the privilege of traveling internationally, experienced guitar in our Quantum case, which has done fairly well now. It's been around the world a couple times with us. Kai says Birmingham booth looked super clean. Yes, that is the slang term, Birmingham. And yes, it was. Thank you. I can't take the credit because our boys over at Strings and Things were so awesome about it. They really hooked us up with the booth and helped us make sure that we didn't have to mess around too much with that when we got there. But yeah, it was a super slick setup, and it was a blast. The convention center was killer. Everyone was super nice. Yeah, no notes. 10 out of 10 experience. Haziel, if you want a one-day break from NAMM next year, I'll work the booth for you. I appreciate it. I might let you know. The one thing is all of these things are just as exhausting as they are amazing. So we're always looking for funny little breaks. We recently did a podcast interview where the interviewer was asking, you go to the NAMM show and it's so crazy, and like, what are the number one things to know for NAMM? And it's like, bring water, bring snacks, bring hand sanitizer. If you can do those 3 things, you're everyone's best friend, no matter what. So, for anyone out there in the ether listening, if you want the quick foot in the door with Balaguer, there you go. Water, snacks, and hand sands. Ken says, let's do it. Hell yeah, dude. I'm going to hit you up because it won't be long now. So the UK show was super rad, and we had an amazing time. Looking forward to going back. Really hope that we get to do it every year because it was just a great hang. Something else that I mentioned is spring cleaning. So anyone who is in the group or follows us on any of our socials or gets the newsletter, which, by the way, all of those things, subscribe to the newsletter on our website, join the Balaguer Guitars Facebook discussion group, the BGFBDG, and Yeah, follow us, subscribe on YouTube, do all the things, like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, we release all of this stuff as soon as we know it's going to be a thing. So the spring cleaning sale, we have basically everything that's in stock is discounted. That includes some B stocks of the recent Espada Ambient and Espada Limited runs that have made their way out into the wild. So if you don't mind something with a cosmetic flaw, snag one up. They're a little cheaper than the regular ones, the A stock ones. They're very cool. Like I said, all the B stock stuff is cosmetic. So yeah, get yourself something sweet for a good price. We're also discounting some of the other stuff that we have in stock. Thicket SS's, I know we have some of those. Straps. I think there's an in-stock select custom. All of that stuff is available. Go to the in-stock section of the website is where all of that stuff is. You can also click on the banner or any of the links. It'll all pop up. If you have any questions, you can always email us, info@balaguerguitars.com, or reach out to us on any of our socials, and we will do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. On that note, after the Birmingham show, after the guitar show, we were a bit behind on emails. So if it took me 5-6 days to reply, we appreciate the patience. We were just catching up after the show. We are caught up now. So yeah, always fun. Offset 2025. Now that's a name I can get behind. Placed an order for an Espada Ambient Vintage Burst this morning. First time I remember liking something about spring cleaning. Saw that order come through. Know who you are. Thank you so much. Yeah, we do the best that we can. We try and make the mundane things in life a little more enjoyable. Anyone who saw our Spring for Strings content last year would have seen me frolicking through a field with guitars and blowing dandelions. And yeah, we like to keep it interesting. Take the mundane, make it fun, spicy even maybe. Kai says, friend of mine is interested in the limiteds. Are they C-shaped necks? Yes, they are comfy Cs. Both the limited and the ambient that we just released, the neck shapes are slightly different. They are still both the comfy C. The Espada ambient neck, I would say, is a touch thicker than something you might expect from like a typical comfy C. And the limiteds have a bit of it's definitely not anything wild, but there's a bit of I don't want to call it a soft V, but there's a bit of a center to the neck. Almost like an inverted thin D, but comfy C. So those things were things that, we try stuff, we get feedback from people. Some people love it, some people don't. We're probably going to stick to the classic stuff from now on. But it was a fun thing to try, and they do rip. So yeah, I would say if you're interested, give it a shot. You can also check out the FAQs on our website for like return policies and stuff. If you buy something new, this does not apply to B stocks, but if you buy something new, there's always a chance that we can work on something if you don't like it or whatever. So you can always reach out to us. We'll chat about it. If you're cool, we're cool. We'll make it easy. Makes the wait for my custom a lot easier. Yes, indeed. I took a look at it, actually, your order, whenever you sent in the Espada Ambient order. So yes, thank you so much for the support. And yeah, it's going to be cool. Other fun things we have going on, because some people asked about this guitar in the UK. I've seen some people ask about it in the chat. This is an Espada, Select Custom Espada. Roasted ash body, roasted maple neck, rosewood fingerboard, mother of pearl block inlays, flame maple top, torque guard, mastery, vibrato. Our Arnie Palmer burst is the finish on this, which is one of my favorite finishes of ours, especially in a satin. It has bare knuckle Abraxas pickups in it, which are like the Santana inspired pickups. So they're very warm, very mid forward, which is something that I wanted because this is a 27-inch baritone that I keep in B standard. So I didn't want it to get, I wanted that really piano-like mid-rangey tone, which I think you hear really well in stuff like this. keep forgetting to turn off the vocal mics when I do that. I'm used to having Joe around. Let's try that one more time. Which also sounds great in the bridge position because the pickup's not too shrill. It has a great mid-range. Yeah, sounds awesome. And that's through the quad cortex. That's the Vox AC15, the default or the built-in model, which sounds super sick with a brown protein capture on top of it. I love the brown protein. It is my favorite overdrive pedal on the planet. And yeah, it does everything from that, which is the very, this is the blue side, so the light side, only a little bit of gain on it, and it sounds like this. Straight up to, if you stack the blue side and the green side, sounds like this. Absolutely ripping sounding pedal. Huge fan. It blew up with hype for a while there, and it is one of the few pedals that I've played in my lifetime that deserved all the hype and more. Totally worth checking out, and such a ripping sound. It sounds even better in person, but of course the QC does a great job of capturing it. So yeah, super sick through like a Vox style amp too. Just love it. Killer stuff. Kai says, is the D shape changed for the Mitch 6 at all? No, it is not. He was comfortable with the standard thin D shape, so that's what it is. I can't remember if it's his production guitar or one of the customs he tried the Comfy C on, and he liked it, but he preferred the thin D. I think for the same reason that a lot of people with the baritone style like it, is because it really gives you that flat back of the neck. So if you're doing big extended range chords and stuff, it kind of makes it easier to get that big stretch on with the extended scale lengths if you play in a more classical way with your thumb behind the neck. I tend to play with my thumb on top a lot. I like the Comfy C personally, but neither of them are baseball bat necks, so you really can't go wrong. I have a thin D on my Ether, if you've seen me play that one in the live stream, and I like it. There are also a couple of small things, like if you get a painted neck or things that change the finish of the neck, or if you change the neck construction to like a set neck or a neck through, those things do have very minor effects on just the general, not the carve of the neck, but obviously like if you change the neck construction, the way it feels at the heel is going to be slightly different. Things like that do affect in a very minor way some of that stuff, which those are great questions. If you ever wonder how changing something affects the feel or the sound, like I said, email us, info@balaguerguitars.com. One of these days, we'll do a spec dedicated video. We did one years ago when we were in the old shop, which by the way, Facebook reminded me that I was streaming those from my personal account back in the day in the Facebook discussion group. And I got to go back and kind of look at some of the stuff we did. It was a lot of fun. And those were simpler times, and they were a blast. So it was fun to kind of reminisce. But yeah, we did a video on spec back in the day. I think we'll probably do another one where it's like spec roulette or something, and we'll spin the wheel, spec wheel of fortune, and we'll get weird and just talk about all the specs. We'll collect a bunch of questions, probably do a poll in the Facebook discussion group first, the BG, FBDG, and yeah, we'll get it knocked out. But yeah, could be cool. So hang out and ask those questions. Which, by the way, speaking of questions, if anybody has questions about any of the stuff that I'm talking about or BG stuff in general, drop them in the chat. It's a great time to ask because I'll be burning through everything. Quad Cortex, back to that for a bit. Like I said, that Vox AC15 with the brown protein in it. I also have a bit of a plexi thing set up. So this is the Friedman BE100 model that's built into the Quad Cortex. I also have a capture of a legit modded Marshall that is like one of my all-time favorites. But yeah, sounds like this. It's a ripping sound. I like it a lot. I owned a Friedman BE for a while, and somewhat ironically, I find that the one in the Quad Cortex actually sounds better than the real thing. I don't know if I had something wrong with mine or if it was just a weird model or what, but yeah, sounds better in the QC. So that's cool. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then, of course, just full on VH vibe, which won't sound like VH with this guitar, but it sounds like this. Nothing like ripping some Van Halen riffs in B standard. Wild. It's a crazy world we live in 2025. Ken, share that preset when you get around to it. I wouldn't mind checking it out. Yeah, absolutely. Nick says Thin D's need more love. Yeah, they're definitely they're very popular in the select custom builds. I mean, I would say it's probably 50-50, maybe even more than 50-50 in favor of the Thin D as a profile. I think it's a certain kind of vibe. What we've seen in talking to different players about it is that, and that's why I say specifically, if you tend to play in a more classical way with with your thumb on the back of the neck, the Thin D tends to be a preference for people. If you learn to shred like this in a very economic, efficient way, you will definitely find an advantage in the flat back of the neck. Personally, the Comfy C to me it's just more of an all-round shape. That's why it's almost exclusively what we use for production runs and stuff like that, because it's just kind of the shape, like the basic feel, the default feel. But yeah, there's plenty of love for it out there. We just don't do it in the production runs very often. Although I think one day, we'll end up doing like a specific tailored run outside of the Mitch 6, not a signature, that uses the Thin D profile. And yeah, that'll be cool. Fun note, Bose signature guitars, so the Woodman BB, which you should see more of soon, cough. They have a sort of in between, we call it the Burchell C. It's sort of like this in between shape. It's like in between the Thin D and the Comfy C. It's a great neck shape. So fun bit of trivia there. Dylan, I see you have a top on that Espada with the bevel. Is this something we can still request? The eagle-eyed among you, like Dylan, may have noticed that there is a thick boy flame maple top, thick with 2 C's, on top of this roasted ash body. And that allows me to still have the forearm contour, the spoon cut for the Espada shape. It is not something that we offer because we don't stock top woods thick enough to make it a regular option. it is not because we don't want to. It is because they are crazy expensive. Uh, there's basically a I would call it an inflection point where the top wood gets to a certain thickness and it just, or any wood blank, but the wood that we would use for tops gets so thick that suddenly it jumps massively in price. That would be one of those places. And yeah, so we don't offer it as a standard option. You can always ask if we have the stock and you're cool with paying the upgrade cost, we'll do it. Can never hurt to ask, but it isn't something we offer regularly. This came from a piece. This was actually an anniversary build for me for working for Balaguer for almost 5 years. And so I was granted a little bit of leeway with with what we did. And to be fair, I asked. It wasn't like I expected it. I said, "Hey, we've done this once before. Can we do it this time?" And I got the green light from the main man himself, Mr. Joey B. So that is what it is. It is not an option we offer by default. You can always ask if we have the wood at the time. We can talk about it, but no guarantees. Good shout though, and it is very cool. I'm super proud of this guitar. Not just that, but the whole thing. It just, I think with Select Customs, it's easy to get caught up in the spec, and it's like, oh, I built this guitar, but I would change this one tiny thing. Very rarely does anyone, I think, feel like they got it perfectly right. Usually they did. They just don't think they did because the grass is always greener, right? But this is one that it's so good. It does exactly what I want it to do. And it sounds exactly like I wanted it to sound. And I'm super proud of it. So yeah, kind of a unique build. Kai says Woodman BB is the GOAT. Yeah, you're not wrong. Kind of literally. That's the first model that Joe ever built back in the day, was the signature for Bo. The Woodman BB was the first sort of official model. Before Balaguer was an official thing, it was the official model. And yeah, the Woodman BBs, the Dark Horse and the Lightbringer. The Dark Horse having the rounded edges with the rustic black body, and the what did I say? Did I say Lightbringer? Did I say Light Horse? The Dark Horse having the rustic black body with the rounded edges, and the Lightbringer having the spalted maple top with the binding. Very cool guitars. They inspired my number one sort of drop C guitar that is, oh, you can see it. It's in the shot. Right, that guitar right there. I didn't even intend to leave that in the shot. Don't tell anyone. My number one sort of riff machine, which is based off of Bo's guitar. Yeah, Woodman BBs are special, and keep an eye out for those because something cool is in the works there. Nick, Dylan, I have a mixture of C and D. Both profiles are great. Yeah, good shout. It also definitely depends on your preference. There's no right or wrong answer. Kai says, I learned that if you're going for Fender style knobs, go push instead of push-pull. Yeah, that's true. I have one of the Fender style knobs on this guitar. I intentionally did not put a push-pull because I just don't really use that with this guitar. I wasn't planning on it, and I haven't found myself wanting or missing it. But yes, the Fender knobs are very difficult relative to other knobs to push-pull because they're kind of slippery, especially if you sweat or anything like that, like if you're gigging. So the push, bam, you just hit it, pops out, super fun. The only negative thing I ever hear about push is that sometimes like you could bump it rather than the push-pull where you really can't. The only time it's ever going to pull out is if you do it intentionally. So yeah, good stuff though. Other things. So we talked about spring cleaning. Check it out. It's on the website, in stock section. We talked about the guitar show. Super rad. In that vein, for those of you who don't know, we also did Guitar Summit for the first time. This was last year in October, late September, early October. We did the Guitar Summit in Mannheim, Germany. We will be doing that again this year. So you will be hearing from us about that as it approaches. It is around the same time. I believe it's either the last weekend or in September, first weekend in October. It's right around that time. We will be there at Mannheim in Germany with a larger booth this time. The plan is, I went by myself last year. The plan is for more of the team to be joining. So that's super cool. Letting everyone know way ahead of time if you're at all near Germany or can make it over, that would be sick. We always have a great hang. It's also super cool because Guitar Summit, they have a lot of space for boutique builders, international boutique builders. So it's also fun for us, and when I say us, I mean Joe as a luthier, but fun for me as a player to see sort of the, I don't want to say only the best of the best, because there are lots of people who aren't there, right, who are amazing luthiers, but to see so many great builders in the same place is just cool. It's almost like if half of the show was the boutique showcase at NAMM. It's very cool. So getting to see all of that is always a blast, and we'll be there this year. So mark your calendars and come hang. Nick says someone needs to make some Strat knobs with set screws. Mine always pop off. Yeah, there are two ways for the record. Well, there are really three ways that you can work on that. One is if you have a split shaft pot, meaning if you take the knob off and the actual shaft that rotates when you turn the knob, if it's two semicircles with the split down the middle, you can take a flathead screwdriver and very gently pry them apart to create more width, and then when you put the knob back on, it will be more secure. Set screws are definitely sort of the way, especially if you're talking about metal knobs. But for plastic knobs, you can spread the split in the pot shaft apart. That was an odd sounding sentence. And it'll create a little more resistance when you put the knob on and take the knob off. The only thing to watch out for is if you pry too hard, you can break one half of the pot shaft. So don't do that. Be gentle and use a flathead, use the right tool, and you'll be good to go. Another one, which is something that, ask me how I know that you can break a split shaft, is back in my pre-BG days, I played a Les Paul as my number one. I still have it. I love that guitar. I was a bit of a Gibson fanboy back in the day, pre-BG, and still am. And I broke half of one of the pot shafts off. So I took some paper towel and I like folded it up really fine and I shoved it into the pot, and then I took the pot and I weaseled it away until it fit around the remaining half. So there's a fun on the road sort of fix that you can do if you want something that fits a little tighter. You can do that. You can also shove stuff in the middle, like in that split area of the pot shaft. There are all sorts of goofball ways to do that. Look them up online, but yeah, I would give it that little easy pry. Now, if you have a solid, oh boy, if you have a solid pot shaft where there is no split down the middle, you're kind of SOL. You basically have to find either an interior diameter knob, a knob with an interior diameter that fits exactly, which is what you kind of should be doing anyway, or some people will put electrical tape around the pot to create a tighter fit. Some people will cover the actual outer diameter of the pot shaft in some sort of material that makes it thicker, like glue or something. There are a bunch of ways to do that. But yeah, I would recommend anything non-permanent because you never know when you're going to have to replace a pot or pull a knob off or whatever. But yeah, get it to fit. So all of these cool things, right? UK show, baller, spring cleaning sale, just dropped. Check it out. Save some money. Buy something cool. Guitar Summit, we will be there this year. We'll also be at NAMM, as we always are, so that's fun too. And yeah, happy Mardi Gras for those who celebrate. Happy belated Mardi Gras from this past Tuesday. And yeah, if anyone has any last minute questions, I'll probably lightning round it in a minute. We're coming up on about an hour. I'm going to riff for a second because I want to play this guitar some more. And you can think about your questions while I do that. And we'll see where we get. Let's see. Yo, can we just talk about how awesome baritones sound when you do that? Super chunky, yes. Almost hit the Friends theme there, did I? I'll have to rewatch, and maybe I'll have that one ready for the next live stream. Milkman's Kid, that looks awesome. Sounds so fun. Love it. Thank you. Yeah, these are this guitar is addictive. That's the thing, especially the baritone stuff. It's just like when you do that it's just such a big sound, and it's not even, I mean, the low end is there, but it's not even that it's like this insane amount of bass. It just it moves a lot of air. It's almost like it is kind of like the difference between playing a 112, a 212, and then a 412. If all things being equal, as you get bigger, there's more low end in the sound, like natural bass, but a lot of it is just that it moves so much more air. The pressure in the room is different. And it's like that when you play something like this. I mean, like I said, I'm playing through the quad cortex. The signal you're hearing is direct out, and then the monitor is just like a powered wedge. It's not anything fancy, but even that sounds huge in the room. What's the effect called? So this is the quad cortex, the Neural DSP quad cortex. It's a multi-effect / capture unit. It's very cool. And like I said, I'm running, like, it's kind of crazy to think about, but that was a Plexi model with a compressor and an EP booster in front of it, both of which are built into the quad. Something like this is a Vox. This is a Vox AC15 that they model in the quad cortex, and all it has is a little bit of plate reverb on the back end from the quad cortex, and a capture of the brown protein that I made a while back. I also love that sound. This is something that I think it's not exclusive to the jazz master style bridge. In this case, it's a mastery vibrato, but there's a thing about the way that the resonance with these long strings comes through in like this feedback, high end like harmonic, I don't know, high order harmonic kind of thing that. Left the vocal mics on again. Let me try one more time. What a sound. It's so, that's what I love about the combination of, the Abraxas with the ash body and the mastery vibrato, any of the jazz master style vibratos is like there's just that singing upper end harmonic that happens, upper order harmonic that happens, and it's so nice. It can be too much. Like if you do something like that with higher gain sounds, it's just wildly noisy, and you have to start using a lot of foam or tape or stuff if you're not into that amount of noise to mitigate the noise. If you're into it, it's sick. And then for stuff like this like mid gain, not really high gain, but just big mid gain sound, to me, all that low end and that extra air really like resonate the strings almost in like a piano kind of way, which is really what I was going for with this guitar. So super stoked about that. And it's kind of like, I remember, everyone's heard System of a Down's Toxicity at this point. And I remember reading an interview with Darren Malakian, the guitarist, and he was saying, yeah, in the studio, we left a bunch of acoustic instruments hanging on the walls in the live room so that the mics would pick up this like resonant string noise just from the air moving in the room. And if you find isolated tracks from that album, when he does stuff and he's like, you can hear that there's like a resonant string noise thing in the background. Super cool. And it's goofball stuff like that I love because I think it adds character to the sound. But yeah, that's sort of what I had in mind. My amp that is coming has amps to choose from and effect names. Yeah, super sick. Yeah, choose from a menu. That's what this is. It's just a version of that. I hope I get at least half as good a sound as you do. Yours sounds so great. Thank you. I really appreciate that. To be fair, a lot of that stuff is made to just sound good out of the box, so I'm sure you'll get some killer tones. The QC and a lot of the like big rig stuff like the Axe Effects or the Kemper, a lot of those things you can dive way deep to the point where you can make it sound bad. But a lot of the normal stuff, like the more, I guess, I don't want to say common, but like the stuff that you would use at your house to do a similar sound, like it really, they're just built to sound great. We had some at the guitar show in the UK, just some Moore units, and like they ripped. They sounded so sick. And with the presets that they build in, you just find a preset you like. You like Metallica? Go to a Metallica sound. You like a pretty, you want a super spacey, pretty clean sound? They have those things built in, super easy. And all that is reverb and delay and a little bit of chorus. And all that stuff is built in. Like every effects unit, multi-effects unit at this point has at least the common versions of that, which that's all that is. I tweaked it for myself, but it's just reverb, delay, chorus, and a bit of compression, which if you go to like a modulated clean patch on any of those things, modulated clean preset, that's what's going to be in that sound. So there are definitely ways to do that no matter what. I just, tweak it to what I like. I know what kind of compressor I like, what kind of reverb, what kind of delay, what kind of chorus, what kind of amp, what kind of guitar, and it all, it's always the sum of its parts, right? So all of that stuff comes together in a super cool way. Mario, are the Espada bridges made by Mastery? No, they are not. They are made by us. The same group that we use that makes the Balaguer hardtail bridges and the Balaguer hardware in general also makes that Jazzmaster trim that comes as standard on selects and select customs and stuff like that. There are certain aftermarket parts, just in case anyone doesn't know. You can request aftermarket parts in a select custom build, or if it's something we have in stock and you don't mind paying the install fee, we can install that stuff for you sometimes. You can always shoot us an email and let us know. I know Mario knows, but for anyone curious who doesn't know, you can always just shoot us an email. We'll let you know if we can do that stuff. Kenny says, love my QC. Yeah, it rips. It really is. I mean, I have, let me see if I can see, like that Bogner back there is mine. I love real amps. There's nothing like it when it's like you just want something analog and it just has a vibe to it, and I'm all about it. But as far as multiple everything, I get all the sounds I want in a box that's this big. Like, just give me the Quad Cortex. It sounds, most of the time, it sounds just as good. And even when you get crazy complicated with it, you might lose 1%. You might be 99% of the way there. It's such a good unit. It sounds amazing. I can't say enough kind things about it. That's why we use it. It would be interesting to record a sound with a camera or anything outside and save it to make a pedal sound. Wonder if that is what you mean or if it's possible. Though digital stuff would probably be as good as analog. I love analog stuff. Yeah, it's funny. We've done the tests. Like you said, the Quad Cortex, you can take a signal from something else, like an amp or a pedal, and they call it capturing. It captures the sound of the thing. So, like I said, that pedal right there, the green pedal in the middle, the brown protein, is this sound. So this is just the Vox by itself that they have built into this unit. Then I captured that pedal, put it in this preset. So if I stomp on this, I get one sound. A little bit of grit. Which I love for the more piano-y neck tones. Or full on another capture I did of the same pedal, maxed out. So that's the idea, right? It can kind of take, for instance, this Bogner has a million different specs. That pedal, or settings, that pedal has an infinite amount of ways you can set it up. I can capture my, let's say, 10 favorite or whatever, and then pick the ones that I like the most for any given preset. So the versatility is unmatched in a way, because if I was going to do that live, I would need 10 Bogner Uberschalls or 10 brown proteins. The core original sound, and I think that's where people get hung up, is like, for me, pay respect to the original, pay respect to the design, to the creator. I captured those sounds. I own the amps. I own the pedals, or have owned or have supported, because I think it's important that you give the credit to the people who invented the thing and made it a thing. But to deny the versatility of a tool like this, what it means to be able to tour with something like this or gig. I know, like, Kenny and I have talked about this a whole bunch, and he gigs with a Quad Cortex, and I've seen him live, and his tone is insane. And like the variety of tone that you get through a show out of something like this, having a preset for each song, being able to do all this stuff without having a spaceship of a pedal board, and having it sound as good as the real thing or so damn close that you'd never know in a live setting. It's killer. It's really killer. Um, Nothing replaces the analog stuff for me in that it is special. There's something cool about it. I don't deny that that's mostly vibe. I just like the vibe, and it is where the sound comes from. It is the original sound made by their choice in parts and their choice in spec and what they tuned it to. And there's an art form in that too, just like there's an art form in building a model. So super cool. And yeah, we don't really choose sides. There are places for all of those things, and we use them all depending on what kind of mood we're in and what we feel like doing. Um, Kai says, I quite like the digital stuff as someone that sells it for a living. Yeah, it's I think like most things in life, if you fall too far to either side of the center line, you kind of miss the point. If you're one of those people that's like, oh, analog everything is so much better than everything digital. Digital sucks. It's ones and zeros. It'll never be as good. Like you're drinking the Kool-Aid just as bad as someone who's like, oh, I've only ever used a modeler. I've never plugged into a real amp. Like they're both good. It's just whatever works for you. And if you're too far on one side or the other without at least some super serious context, you're probably off your rocker, frankly. Capturing sounds really interesting and infinite. Suppose analog stuff is infinite too. That's kind of true. What is that green box to your left? I love tubes. Grew up with TV tubes. Yeah, for sure. Capturing is very cool. It's the technology that there are a couple of different brands that have digital products that emulate an analog product, where you take an actual physical analog product and it creates that sound with the thing that you have, the exact way that you have it set. Neural calls that capturing. Um, and basically, you plug your stuff into the quad cortex, you hit go, and it captures that sound for you. And we've A/B'd it against the real thing, and it's always either exact or so damn close that, again, you'd never be able to tell the difference. And it rips. It's very cool. And it is infinite, which is what's fun about it. The fact that I can have all of that stuff in one thing, that I can travel with it, that I can download it, that I can go to the UK or go to Germany or go wherever. At NAMM this year, we're friends with Neural. I mean, we don't get paid to say any of this. I'm not shilling, but we are friends with them, and they do loan us stuff for NAMM, and they gave us nano cortexes this year, and we were able to just download our favorite presets and have them available in the booth. Took 10 seconds. I mean, that's amazing. It's the technology is just off the freaking charts. And we've also had amps in the booth, Bad Cats and Revs and Mesa and all sorts of killer high watts, all sorts of killer amps from people that we love that make amazing products. It rips. It all rips. It really is just situational and preferential. There's no other way around it. Kenny says, I like both, but prefer flexibility and just showing up to a gig with my small board and a cab. Sometimes I don't even need the cab. Yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, you could literally just roll up with this, put it off somewhere where no one's going to spill a beer on it, play the whole damn show, and sound better than 80% of the people in the wild. Better's a shitty word, but you get what I'm saying. Like, out of the box, it sounds so good, you almost can't get it wrong. And you don't have to worry about, blowing a tube or an amp being finicky because of the power it's being fed or any of that stuff. It just, it's a different vibe. We did a whole podcast. Boy, Joe would laugh at that. We did a whole live stream on the difference between digital and analog and why you would use one versus the other in certain situations. Check it out. Go into our YouTube history. You can watch the whole thing for more detail on all that. But basically, it's just kind of funny how back in the day, digital was like a studio thing, and you use real amps live or real analog gear live. And then in the 80s, that sort of equalized where people would use these big space age rack units live with their big amps. And now it's like people gig with digital stuff almost more than they gig. People are playing digital stuff and gigging with digital stuff more than they're playing with analog half the time, most of the time. And the analog stuff almost is more of a studio thing. Like you want the real deal, the best of the best, no questions asked. You know it's exactly that thing. Well, here it is in a studio somewhere, mic'd up in isolation, all of that stuff. Um, but the reality is they're both sick. Like I know I sound like a broken record, but they really are. And people who try and alienate the other or crap on people for liking one versus the other, those people should probably see a therapist because they need some help. Milkman, sorry, I'll say it again. What's the green box to your left? To my left. Sorry, I'm backwards on the camera. You mean if you mean that box there? Yeah, that one. So that's just a head shell. But what's in it is another one of these big digital products. That's the Helix. And then what's on the top rack is right above it is a Seymour Duncan Power Stage 700. Kenny says, finally got a cover for the QC. Hell yeah, baby. I love the cover that we have. Joe and I have the same one from oh no, I'm gonna embarrass myself. Drop the name if you know who it is. Oh, I feel so bad because it's so sick, and we've mentioned it before. K and K, the letters K N K Shields. They're from, I believe, the Netherlands or Scandinavia, and they machine these out of like legit plexiglass, super legit. Called a raincoat, maybe, but yeah, super cool. So we're about at that time. If you have any questions, oh, you have the same one, K and K, rad. Yeah, they're the best for me. I like them. Not over the top, easy to take on and take off and put back on. Cool design. Win, 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 win. The green box. Yeah, it's not cheap, but it's not crazy expensive. It's a good solution. But I'm gonna start wrapping up. I'm gonna riff on my way out. And if y'all have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll try and hit them before we sign off. Thanks again to everyone for hanging out, to everyone who came out to the guitar show in Birmingham, to Birmingham. It was so fun. We're so lucky to be able to do stuff like that. Happy belated Mardi Gras. Spring cleaning sale is going on now. Check out everything in the in-stock section of the website. It's all on sale, including some of the most recent Espada Limited and Espada Ambient runs in B-stock. So they're extra discounted, which is super cool. We will see everyone soon. We'll be at Guitar Summit later this year. Put it on your calendar, Mannheim, Germany. We will see you again in 2 weeks' time. We do this every other Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, hope everyone has a killer weekend. Thanks for hanging out. This was so cool. I love doing the live streams. I miss Joe. Everyone be sure to message Joe in the Facebook discussion group saying that you missed him too. But yeah, it's just rad. So I hope to see everyone again. Milkman's Kid, I hope you come hang again. Keep learning, keep playing. It's a blast. And yeah, it's so cool. Offset, thanks. Yo, yes. And we've got you covered. Stoked for your stuff. Great stream here. Thanks, man. And Kenny, good to see you. We'll talk soon. I'm going to riff a bit. I've been Jake, Balaguer Guitars. Check it out, and we will talk soon.